Did you know if you drop a like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, nothing will happen but it will put a giant smile on my face? Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 1, believe it or not, is literally over 60% through its complete duration. Despite it seeming like yesterday, December 5th, when we were in downtime and it lifted, revealing us to the flip side, or the brand new underside island of Chapter 2 being, well, Chapter 3, it's more than safe to say a lot of things have happened since then that have changed or shaped the map, or even the storyline in terms of where it's pointing toward now and building up to a live event. And as you can see by the title and thumbnail today, we're going to be myth-busting perhaps all of the rumours or even things that could most likely be coming true to how this season's going to be ending with a live event, perhaps even going straight into downtime, which then would obviously lead into the Chapter 3 Season 2 cinematic trailer. And let's just say some of these myths or rumours or even leaks could actually blow your mind, so do yourself a favour today, sit back, relax with your favourite snacks and stick around to watch the full video. But one favour you can do me whilst you're doing that, considering this is 100% free to do, is enter code FM1 inside the Fortnite item shop. I challenge you all right now, try and make this process last longer than 10 seconds, and if it does, don't enter it, that's how confident I am. Entering code FM1 not only puts a giant smile on my face, but cheers my pug up Gus too, as he's been kind of sad recently from not only discovering that yes, he looks like a baby Colombo, but on top of the fact he's found out 70% of you guys watching right now are not subscribed to the channel. And speaking of subscribing, we've just recently surpassed 2.3 million, you guys have been killing it lately, so everybody who hasn't clicked the big red button, click it. And of course, after all, this can only benefit you, considering I also give 5 subscribers every single day, so if you want to receive a gift off me, simply make sure you subscribe to the channel with all notifications turned on, and then comment your Epic Games ID down below and let me know what you'd like to receive, so perhaps in the next video you could be gifted on screen in front of hundreds of thousands of eyes to see. But with that said, now enough messing around, we need to dive into all the Fortnite Chapter 3 live event myths, rumours and even leaks pointing toward things that potentially could be coming true or developing, so make sure of course you don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere! I'm sitting on my back. Don't go anywhere!
Okay, so the first thing to note about the live event in itself is that obviously, considering the Fortnite storyline is progressive, despite us transitioning from Chapter 2 into Chapter 3 with the end event finale cinematic more specifically showing this conflict, the conflict between the two factions involved, or the members of them, being, well, the Foundation and Dr. Slone belonging to the Seven and the Imagined Order, with us not only being revealed to the location of the Seven as mentioned in this list of information about everything to do with what was happening after Chapter 2 Season 8, although it didn't exactly mention that Chapter 3 was straight after, only implied it, and with the Imagined Order setting up base around the map in various smaller areas, but most specifically Covert Cavern now, with another boss there that was also shown in the end event finale cinematic of Chapter 2, as you'll have seen also across social media if you follow my Twitter, and make sure to do so in the video description down below if you don't already, considering we're verified over there now. Pretty much every Fortnite news outlet or data miner or leaker has been talking about a theme clearly established for Chapter 3 Season 2 of a war between the Imagined Order and the Seven as more of a forefront than it already is now, and how we get there to the next season obviously is typically off a live event, whether it occurs and then we can play for a few days before the next season starts, or whether it leads directly into downtime for then the next season to start after a certain amount of hours of us staring at something like this being a countdown timer downtime screen. And with this establishing a background for everything we're going to be talking about in this video, one of the rumours or one of the myths currently is even if there is going to be a live event this season. This initially came to my attention, this theory or possibility, over on Twitter from Postbox Pat stating Chapter 3 Season 2, no event this season but small changes leading into an opening cinematic for Chapter 3 Season 2 itself, which initially got me thinking as to why this would be the case, but then I remembered in Chapter 2 Season 5, obviously we saw the 0 point slowly more so destabilize above the Earth's surface anyways on the original flip side of this island that we now know as Chapter 3, and as the days passed with the destabilization clearly getting, well, worse, so the 0 point was about to do something, that something then happened at the start of Chapter 2 Season 6, not only in the cinematic trailer but also the Zero Crisis finale that we could interact with or take part in, which again is another rumour that people have been speculating about, the fact that when we load up the next season it's going to be an introduction event for the first time we hop onto it anyways, rather so than the next lore-related event in Fortnite being, well, live in-game that Fortnite announced across social media, put a countdown timer in-game and in the lobby for, so everybody is aware of it. Again, referring back to Chapter 2 Season 5 ending with the Zero Crisis finale starting Chapter 2 Season 6, of course, literally the first time every single person hopped on, if you didn't click options and leave game anyways, we went through a phase of basically knowing or being being involved with how the transition happened between these two seasons. Personally, I would love to see something like this again. Let me know down below in the comments if you like to see an introduction event rather so than a live one, although I think both would actually be a really sick concept. And despite me taking a liking to this idea, of course it would be good just for the overall audience of Fortnite, considering most players predominantly, or the larger percentage of people who actually, you know, go on the game, aren't actually following things across social media, so it would give them a better idea as to the storyline that's, you know, ultimately responsible for how the map changes. And I feel like that's more important now than ever, with everything involved, such as the Imagined Order being a large forefront, and again, the Seven, with especially the leader being revealed. Underneath them has to be Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the Foundation. But moving on to our next myth that not many people are actually talking about, or rumoured to do with the live event itself, some people even speculate that the Cube Queen could be returning, despite the conflict again already between Dr. Slone and the Foundation, specifically being leaders of the Imagined Order and the Seven. And one of the main factors that points toward this is again this leaked list of information that we briefly referred to do with everything Chapter 3 happening, despite literally everything coming true on here, but one point that we don't really know as to what it exactly means being, well, the Cube Queen will be largely involved in Chapter 3, whether this meant she was fully responsible for us getting to the Chapter 3 island, or the flip side anyways, or the flipping process of the island due to the events that took place at her hands anyways of trying to destroy our Chapter 2 island. Or the flip side theory of that, no pun intended, is that she will be making a reappearance since her disappearance at the end of the Chapter 2 finale event anyways, considering we don't know where she teleported to. Perhaps it was the Cradle, her giant ship, the mothership of motherships itself, but either way it's pretty safe to say that this didn't eliminate her by falling in the water like, you know, the Wicked Witch of the West from Wizard of Oz. I guess we had to see as to any indication of her return, but speaking of indications of things potentially upcoming for the live event, or the next event should I say, occurring in Fortnite as a whole, now we've transitioned to the flip side, or Chapter 3. The next rumours, leaks or theories pointing toward what's going to be happening as a big live event anyways is supposedly a Final Showdown V2, which is definitely something I'd like to see personally. Initially this was right in front of our eyes, pointing toward it anyways at the start of Chapter 3, with the Mecha team leader arm in the water that was ripped off the robot in the initial Final Showdown of Chapter 1 Season 9's live event. And despite this being a nod to our prior times, or one of the biggest or most favourable events by the community, I definitely know it's my favourite event. Then in the 19.10 update, despite the snow melting after the Winterfest event occurred, revealing underneath these giant ice cubes tilted towers, we had another landmark revealed thanks to the Imagined Order digging, not only Covert Cavern that we now know as a revealed name location, but a landmark called the Devoured, where we can see the remains of the skewered through the head Polar Peak monster, which we know to be the same one but the skeletal structure, as it's cracked in a way that would only make sense if something skewered through its head. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, of course in Chapter 1 Season 9, yes, this is how the Polar Peak monster, as we thought it was called anyways, or Devourer monster that we now know it to be as, got defeated, and then after the days passed, with the bones remaining here, it then slowly decayed, the land around it turning most of the greenery pink anyways, and with the Mecha team leader arm appearing on the outskirt of our ocean where it was ripped off and thrown to in the Chapter 1 island or dimension anyways, I would have said this arm in the water alone could have just been a fun Easter egg or reference to our prior times, as Epic Games love teasing things or giving reference to things. However, now not only with the introduction of this Devoured POI or landmark when we visit it anyways, being the skeletal remains of the original Polar Peak monster from the Final Showdown, with us knowing the Imagined Order are drilling to several areas not only of the map but within Covert Cavern itself, it's safe to say with data miners digging into the coding too that they've managed to find something codenamed Catus Cave, which Catus is codename for the Devourer or Polar Peak monster, and not only the coding stating this but that there's a distant groan implying there's another. Who's to say that the Imagined Order don't already know the location underneath the island's surface to the entrance of this Catus Cave, where perhaps there's more Devourer monsters, or one even bigger one perhaps that Dr. Slone has trapped or put in chains or tried to tame to then use or unleash to defeat the Seven. Of course, with both factions doing things to try and off-throw the other or gain the upper hand, such as not only the Seven launching rockets now that you may have seen as small map changes in the background occurring frequently, but with the voice recordings of the scientists clearly displaying that yes, the Imagined Order sabotaged one of the rocket launches. Of course, they're going to try and then keep their plans more secretive as to what they do next to ultimately directly overthrow for good the opposing faction, and with the Imagined Order perhaps having a Devourer monster on their side, who's to say that the Seven once again won't be making another Mecha team leader robot of the sort maybe perhaps different in our Chapter 3 realm. To give some backstory on this, for those that don't know, many people are starting to believe that the Singularity, you know, the person that manned the original Mecha Robot and defeated the Polar Peak monster in Chapter 1 Season 9, is another snapshot form or the same person as the Paradigm, initially from Donald Mustard kinda revealing that the singularity, when he drew it on this comic book form, was only one of her names. And with voice recordings of the Seven revealing she's public enemy number 1, and perhaps the reason for that being she had to use the 0 points power and destabilize it above the Chapter 1 island's surface to then defeat the Polar Peak monster, which was obviously a great cost to that reality as a whole, with there also being many physical resemblances to each other of these two skins when put side by side, being the Paradigm and the Singularity itself. And speaking of similarities, again, the conditions that obviously allowed the Mecha Team leader to be formed or built anyways was the pressure plant region of the map, being an inactive volcano if we reference that, or a likewise location on the map that's soon going to be changing due to a collaboration ending, which is the Daily Bugle name location, as Spider-Man has been collaborated for Chapter 3 Season 1 into the Battle Pass. Who's to say next season, or even later down the line, that this isn't changed into another form of pressure plant to then form another giant robot to defeat said Devourer monster that the Seven perhaps find out the Imagined Order are hiding as their secret weapon to ultimately overthrow the Seven for good. And despite Dr. Slone not only being surprised in the end event cinematic for Chapter 2 that the Foundation survived, and perhaps an even bigger size surprise appearing in response to something they weren't meant to know about the Seven, being the fact that the Io or Imagined Order had the Devourer to unleash on them, initially anyways, that they thought would definitely overthrow this faction. Moving on to our next rumour or theory about what's going to be making, or who should I say, making an appearance in the live event itself, or whatever event's set to occur next, is supposedly the appearance of a higher power in the Seven, despite the Foundation being a leader, and the final two remaining members alongside this one being not only revealed to be called the Origin thanks to the statues at the Sanctuary itself being the main location of the Seven, or one of them, alongside the two sisters that the Foundation obviously referenced in the Chapter 2 Season 6 cinematic trailer. Well, it turns out now, yeah, we know what all members of the Seven are based off their names, but not only that, potentially what they look like too, as Fortnite keep releasing these surveys of concepts of skins anyways, or early developed stages of what the artists at Epic Games have made these skins to be. And as you can see, there's one that not only definitely looks like a member of the Seven, being the Origin mask on and off style, but two other members obviously looking like sisters, which perhaps could be the sisters, which again the coding clearly states are members of the Seven despite the Origin. This definitely would be expected for the Fortnite storyline for any of these characters to appear in the live event anyways for the first time, or all of them all at once, finally revealing us to all members of the Seven in the Fortnite universe. But speaking of something else that would be completely huge, you know how the 0 point was fully intact and stable despite the events of Chapter 2 Season 5 in Chapter 2 Season 8 between both sides of this island anyways, the in-between of the flip side and the Chapter 2 island referred to as the bridge by the Fortnite characters themselves. The final rumour that people are speculating about is that the 0 point will be making an appearance earlier in this chapter than any prior ones, and the reason for that being however it's going to act anyways, or be used in terms of its energy or destabilization, we're yet to know. But one of the main reasons for this speculation is because not only are there drills all around Covert Cavern and areas of the map in themselves as set-up sites, but specifically where Gunner is located as a mythic boss in Covert Cavern, kind of protecting it, so it seems anyways, with him being positioned here most of the time, despite many people thinking this is just a platform obviously near the water's edge for the Imagined Order to, well, get more supplies on and then perhaps make the drilling process easier. Believe it or not, this underneath it is a drill in itself, and not only from going under the water or in replay can you see this, but this is only just the head of the drill according to data miners, as it goes a lot further down underneath, perhaps meaning that the Imagined Order are not only trying to dig up the Catus Cave or find the Devourer monster at this landmark right here on the outskirts of Tilted Towers, but are also trying to harness the power of the 0 point, which would kind of make sense considering we know Dr. Slone is very power hungry and will do anything to overthrow the Seven. And of course the most powerful thing we know, kind of the heart of the Fortnite universe, or universes anyways, that are all linked together in terms of their dimensions, is this mysterious factor called the 0 point in itself. And speaking of the 0 point and just Fortnite's universe overall, how it's correlating to real life recently is kind of scary, considering not only have they kind of found a real life 0 point out there in our universe, like yeah, physically in the real world, the human race, but despite Donald Mustard of course obviously acknowledging this and kind of referencing with him acknowledging it that it's got kind of ties or lookalike ability to the 0 points. As you can see from this tweet, there's so many more things in real life happening that kind of reference Fortnite in some way, shape or form, such as the Golden Cube, the end event in itself involving the Cube Queen in this sphere above the pyramid. And let's just say, based off all the information, rumours or even myths mentioned in this video pointing toward the progression of the Fortnite storyline, whatever happens in terms of the next event of Fortnite actually going down, it's going to be very interesting based off the lore development. So if you enjoyed today's video, slap a like in it down below and make sure you're subscribing to the channel so that you don't miss any future future uploads, especially on the subject of this, considering it's very interesting and leaks are pouring out as updates pass. And speaking of other videos, make sure to interact with anything on screen right now as your next destination, but most importantly, hopefully I can catch you. Yes, you the individual still watching, I can see you, but hopefully in that very next video I do post on the channel.